This is Peter,
And this is Tom,
and you're listening to History Teachers Talking Podcast.
now part of the Evergreen Podcast Network.
All right, this is Peter Zablocki and Thomas Reska, and welcome back to our podcast. I think this is a kind of gross one if you think about it.
You think a lot of things are gross. This is just nature, Pete. This is just nature. It's just nature.
All right, what are we talking about, Tommy?
Well, today let's start off. We're going to talk about basically what is a man-eater, right? So we're going to look at the type of animals that prey on humans or go after humans for a variety of reasons, not just scavengers. We're not looking at ones that are scavenging or single attacks, but actually because they're hungry. But this is more of actually like start preying upon humans, adapt to human behavior. They don't kill in self-defense. They actually develop a taste for human flesh. And this is usually lions, tigers, leopards, polar bears, some crocodiles. There's been cases of Komodo dragons, hyenas will do this also. So it actually is a lot rarer than you think, but it still happens a lot more than you think, if that makes sense.
And I think at the core of this entire podcast, we're going to try to concentrate on the one main one that everyone kind of has heard about.
Well, it's because if they made a movie, there's been books about it. It's actually not the largest one, but I guess it's one of the most interesting stories with it.
We're going to talk about the Tsavo man-eaters as like
the
basis.
Man-Eaters, yes.
Yep, as like the basis, and then we'll get into all like the different other kinds or cases where this has happened. But this got me thinking, like when I was doing research for this, just like you said, there's so many different other man-eaters, but the Tsavo man-eaters happen to be the most popular ones, I would say, in pop culture. And it got me thinking that is it perhaps because it came from like the British perspective?
Well, that's exactly why. I guess why it became so popular in like particularly like I guess the West and stuff like that. Well, because the person who winds up shooting them, right, Colonel John Henry Patterson, he wrote a book about it. He wrote his account of the hunting and the experience called The Man-Eaters of Tsavo, and that becomes A Ghost in the Darkness, right? That movie I think Val Kilmer played in the mid-90s,
96.
I guess. Yep. Mid-90s, 96. There's a lot of stories about it. And these lions, they kill 135 people while the construction workers, right?
Yep. And the Prime Minister of England is talking about Lord Salisbury addresses this in the House of Lords. So I think that because it's westernized, this particular event is westernized as opposed to the other ones that we're going to discuss as well briefly. I think this kind of catches the attention. It's like the British view. And at the time of this is 1890s. England is still, the empire in the world. So I think that's what kind of gives this the most attention.
Well, yeah, you have that. And it's also the fact that it's like man versus nature,
Yep.
And the fact that it's lions, I'm sure, because everyone thinks like the king of the jungle, right? The lion.
All right, so let's get going into the Tsavo man-eaters. We'll kind of discuss what happened there and make that a big case study. And then from there, we'll kind of branch off into some other lesser known, but also kind of wicked, man-eating episodes, I guess. There's a construction of a railway that's taking place in Uganda. The railway is going to link Uganda with the Indian Ocean. And this is happening about 1898. The British Crown starts building this railway bridge over the Tsavo River in Kenya. And the building site consists of several different camps. They're spread out throughout the whole area. There's about a few thousand, they said, workers. And most of the workers come from India. So they're brought in by the British.
Yeah, to work on the project.
And there's still some locals, some Africans that work on the project as well, but most of them are Indian. Led by the guy you mentioned, his name is John Henry Patterson. So he arrives to lead this project to build this railway bridge over the Tsavo River.
He's put in charge. And the killings start like right after he gets there, right? He's only there a few days before it starts. And it's these two large they're male lions, but they're maneless. So which means
what makes it weird, right?
Yeah, it says they don't have that traditional, but they're the size of the male lions, which are huge. But they don't have their manes, so they don't look like traditional lions. And there's those, we'll talk about that a little bit more later on, like why they're maneless and what that has to do. And they start stalking the campsite. And what they think even before they start pulling the workers out of their tents at night, which is what happens. They pull them out of their tents at night and devour them.
How freaky is that, right? You're just going to sleep,
you're
right?
Sitting in a tent. Yeah, but they had to develop this taste, for human flesh before this. So I've read a lot of other stuff about man-eaters before all this because it's just, I used to do something like that in my class. We used to do Animal Attack Fridays. But
wait, what?
We used to do Animal Attack Fridays back in the day.
Back in the day. Okay,
back
cool.
In the day. But one of them was also like human flesh, I guess, like we don't particularly taste good a lot of times. And there's a lot of like theories because of all this other stuff we eat and everything. But the thing what happened with these lions is that because they were building this bridge over a river, obviously, right? Why else would we be doing this? So there were workers who just died anyway. Like they died from exhaustion, they died from disease, or they drowned in the river. And then their bodies would like just they didn't really, a lot of times never got the bodies, never removed them. And the lions were probably eating the bodies at night. So first they started kind of scavenging on the remains that were left behind.
Yep.
And then that's it. Oh, they started like developing and then realized these people, or these, big monkeys in the tents were easy to eat. So let's do it.
There's another one that kind of looked at it as well. They found a lot of dead humans at the Tsavo River crossing because there was a slave caravan that used to go through
Yeah.
past that river from through part of the East African slave trade, and routinely would cross the river further down, a little bit further down, but not much. And because of that, there was often a lot of different dead humans that would be left behind from this slave trade caravans. As you mentioned, they kind of developed a taste for humans. And at the end of the day, they don't have to really go far. This human's not going to struggle that much against a 10-foot long lion. It's easy prey, especially once they got used to the fact that, like, all right, this is doable. We could eat these people. And they start at night. And usually the way they work, these two lions, is one line would stay outside of the actual construction site, and the other line would go into these tents at night and kind of drag the people out, and they would share. Eventually,
Yeah.
lions got kind of cocky, and they're like, no, we're both
Well,
going in.
it was
Everyone
some
gets their
easy,
own.
but it wasn't like the people, like they weren't trying to like defend themselves. Like they built campfires, like, a lot of fire's going to scare them away. Doesn't do anything. Killings became daily. Like it was like, well, who's
Yeah.
not going to make it through the night? And they tried to scare them off. They had thorn bushes. They even made like almost basically like a fort with like trees and stuff like that. And the lions just jumped over it
Jump
or
over
ripped
it, yeah.
down the fence. Like that show. I mean, if a lion wants to get in, you ever watch that show Survivor Man? You ever see those things? And I remember
Yeah.
he was in an actions event. He made this like, just protect me from the lions. And he's like, actually, if a lion wants to get in here, it's getting in here. Like it's not going to stop a lion. And these were big lions. We'll get to like their size a little bit later.
Yeah.
So yeah, they just constantly kept on coming in, and to the point where they, like you said, both would come in at the same time and pull out victims by themselves. So when they stopped taking one and sharing it, they both got their own.
Yep.
And then like basically the workers started leaving. They're like, forget
Yeah,
this. We're
that's
not
what it
going to
was.
stay here, and just get picked off every day.
Once the workers started leaving, basically it halts the railway construction, and it gets to such a point that colonial officials back in England actually have to intervene, and they're like, all right, well, we're losing too many people, so work is ordered to stop. It halts, and Patterson is tasked, right, by the colonial officials to basically kill these
Get
lions.
these lions. Well, it's after one of the British actually get attacked, right?
Yeah, they send a district official down to
Yeah,
check it
district
out.
official Whitehead. He goes and he actually gets attacked by one of the lions. His assistant actually does get killed, and Whitehead actually they said he had like lacerations, claws.
Yep.
He actually got like attacked and injured by the lion. That's when they're like, "Oh, you got to kill these lions." Before that, they were like, "Oh, that they're going to go away. It's not really happening." But once one of the Europeans gets attacked, and he barely survived, it's like, all right, now do something.
Yep.
Now do something. That's basically what he starts doing, right? They start reinforcing. Other officers arrive. They reinforce it with more like armed sentries, basically.
Yeah, they send in for the Indian
hunt.
Army. They actually
Yeah.
send in. They bring in 20 different members of the Indian Army to assist with trying to find the hunt. I mean, that's what it is. It's they pause construction. They're like, we're gonna go hunting, and Patterson sets up numerous traps all over the area where he would see these lions, mostly at from a tree. He would set them up in trees. Unsuccessful attempts trying to shoot these lions.
Yeah, he said he actually wounded one of them early on, right? Like
Yep.
he struck it in its hind leg, but it escaped. And then actually returned later on that night and started stalking him. I remember the movie. You see this, it's like stalking him, and he's trying to like outwit this
Well, he's trying to
lion,
shoot it, but he
basically,
couldn't
the whole
figure it.
time.
Yeah, he couldn't.
He couldn't
shoot-
go where it
he
was.
got-
Yeah, the lions,
Yeah.
they were also like, they were aware of people. He actually was able to shoot it in the leg, like I said. I think he shot it again to the shoulder. And that,
Well, this one hit.
but-
This one killed him. Yeah, this one hit.
yeah,
the,
but with a stronger rifle. He shot it with a more powerful rifle. He's like,
Yeah.
this one isn't. So he shot it to the shoulder, which I think probably hit the heart, and it was found laying dead the next morning, like right underneath his platform where Patterson was hiding out. So it was coming after him.
Yeah, imagine that. They're like, you shoot the first one, and the thing escapes, and then you're still chilling in a tree because you're like, don't trust it.
Yeah,
Then
I'm not getting down. Yeah,
yeah, then you hear the thing come back, and it's like prowling. It's going around,
So,
going around.
Let me get my bigger gun.
Yeah, he's like, okay, let's try this again. And then he shoots it, and then you probably knew he killed it, but he's like, I'm not coming down there until it gets light out. And when they find it, and they said it took 8 men to carry this.
Yeah, it
this
was
body
9
back
feet
to
long.
camp. 9.8
9 feet long.
inches. Yeah.
it was a huge lion. And then the second lion was killed 20 days later.
But this one is interesting because he kept on
this one's much
shooting
more
this
intense.
thing
Yeah, this one was shot 9 times, they said.
on different occasions.
Different times,
He
yeah.
just couldn't, yeah.
They just couldn't kill it. They kept on missing it and stuff like that different times. And he fired from atop a scaffolding that he built near. He basically, what they did was, again, they're setting traps. They killed a goat
Yep.
and put the goat there, and then kind of lured it there. Again, it was stalking Patterson as it was trying to even flee. It was still just like growling at him and looking back at him and stuff like that. They actually found it the next day, and they shot it 3 more times as it was laying there, and that didn't even kill it. It still was it
Still
was
try to
still
flee.
crippled.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was crazy, and they finally shot it 2 more times in the chest, and then finally one in the head, and
That's
they
the one
said
that
it
killed
was
it. Yeah.
that's when it finally killed it. And said it was he claims it was still gnawing at him even afterwards, trying to reach him until they
Yeah.
shot it in the head. So again, they're gonna make it more intense, a little more
Yeah.
dramatization there.
Obviously, the original story is that it ate 135 victims, and that number comes from Patterson himself. He gave the account in his book that it had killed 135 people, and these lions basically went after people directly, which was odd in itself, and he finally took care of it. Now, the crazy thing is, he had these two lions, he had them skinned, and did you see that initially they were his carpet?
Yeah, he kept them. Well, it was like a big thing for him.
Well, yeah, but like he never gave it to a museum. Like now they're in a museum because they had to reconstruct it, and they said the actual hides were in really bad shape because he used them as like just his carpet. And after using it as a floor rug for 25 years, he's like, all right, and he winds up selling it to Field Museum of Natural History in 1924 for a sum of $5,000, which is a lot of money back then.
And they reconstructed them, and now they're on permanent display. Kind of in the film museum in Chicago, the skins are like they reconstruct and put them on like
To
fake lion
yeah,
skeleton,
yeah,
and then the skulls are on display right next to them.
yep.
They're big.
And actually, the skulls become kind of important here because that serves as the basis of DNA testing for these lions, which is kind of crazy when you think about what they could do. What they did with these two lions, modern research after 2000, they went into like isotopic signature analysis of these skulls and the DNA, and they looked at the bone structure, some of the hair keratin they got from the actual X rugs. And about 2009, they broke this down to DNA samples and compared it to Tsavo lions that ate other meals. They didn't eat humans, and then they look at humans and what protein human body actually is made up of and how that would show itself within the DNA of the lion. And through scientific analysis, they basically were able to figure out, okay, this lion ate humans, this one did
Right, yeah.
not eat humans. And then they were like, okay, this one had the levels of potentially eating this many humans
This one,
versus
yeah, they
this.
get like an idea of how many. It was like 25 humans or 14 humans. I saw some of that. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it was. So they were like initially we're like, all right, this one ate probably 24.2 humans and the other one ate about 10.5 humans. But what it doesn't account for is that's only like full humans being eaten. And that's kind of where you get into this like, okay, well maybe it's not 135, but that doesn't mean that they ate 24. They could have eaten a part of a human. That's why
yeah.
it counts like 24.2, but that really
They
could have been
killed. That's
40.
funny. They killed. Yeah. Even Patterson says, because I think another. Some people say it could have been less, and he actually says it was even more. That number was actually higher, but some of these workers were undocumented,
Yep.
and there a lot of the African workers in particular were undocumented. So he's like, they don't even know how many that they actually killed. Who knows? Unfortunately.
Crazy. And then when you start looking at to like, all right, so what might have caused these guys to go crazy? We did talk about the one thing that they developed a taste for human flesh because of the East African slave trade, but also from the fact that you had a lot of people falling and dying and other things while building this particular railroad bridge. But there are some other ideas, alternative arguments that kind of point to different directions. One deals with teeth,
Yeah.
right? You saw this one probably, right?
Well, this is always a story I remember watching. This was a long time ago when I was like a teenager. I remember actually watching a documentary on this when the on HBO, because the movie was coming out, Ghost in the
Yep.
Darkness. So they also put like a little documentary with it, and they're basically talking about how one of the lions had a infection in the root of its canine tooth, and they believe that made it harder to hunt because it made it very difficult then for it to like suffocate zebras or wildebeest.
Yeah,
But it
it
was a
hurt him.
lot easy.
Yep.
But it was a lot easier to still kill a human because we're like jelly basically, especially compared to like a wildebeest.
That's so gross.
Um,
We're like jelly.
well, we are. I mean, where humans are not,
I know, I
we're
know, I know.
easy to take out for a lion. Like one swipe, that's it for the most
Which
part.
really gets me when you watch people like play with lions. You watch the like TikTok things and they're like, "Oh, what a cute lion!" Like, no, no, that thing is gonna
Yeah,
eat
until it
you.
decides that like
It
that
doesn't like
it's
you anymore.
yeah,
Yeah,
or it just wants to play a little rougher, and then you're done. So it has that sort of thing. There was that was really was pushed for a long time, and I guess even in 2017 they were still doing studies of this that proved that, because that was what you heard early on. But then Patterson was saying no, the reason that tooth was broken was because I shot the tooth when I was shooting at the lion.
Yeah.
But they actually were able to do, like you said, the DNA testing, I guess, like the
Which is
scanning
crazy.
of the teeth and everything like that, the jawline, and you could see, there definitely was a infection in the root of his canine tooth, which made it would make that lion hard for him. But why was the other lion? But then
Yeah.
if you look up like maneless lions, they tend to be sometimes like weaker than some of the other lions, so it could have, or like pushed out of like the packs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard for them
Hunt.
to hunt anyway, because they
Yeah.
wouldn't have like large number, like,
It wouldn't have the herd to support them.
well, you don't have the lionesses either. Usually the lionesses are the ones that hunt with the pack
See?
of lions, and that
See?
the male lion is the one that just kills the other male lions and scares off the hyenas and stuff.
See?
So,
If it wasn't for the
but they don't have
woman,
that.
as I say, behind every great man is a greater woman. So even behind every lion.
The,
Right,
the
right, right.
lionesses.
That's
So
right.
yeah, that's really what they were thinking about. Some of the reasons why they did this, and then I think the main reason, though, a lot of people just say is once they killed a couple, they just realized how easy it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't hard. There was a whole bunch of people in a small area. That said, "Oh, let me grab a guy tonight. That's what I'm going to just chow down on." But they said, like I said, they weren't even eating the whole bodies because they were like, "Why?"
Yeah, well, it was
They,
like it's like I have to hunt again tomorrow. I'll just stop by the camp and pick
yeah,
up what I want.
they can just get like fresh food.
It's crazy. The one last one that kind of came up recently that people started looking at. There was an outbreak of cattle plague that was
Yes.
happening in Africa, 1890s. It was kind of infectious viral disease, basically to cattle, domestic buffalo usually. But what happened here is just started taking antelope, giraffes, wild wildebeests, warhogs, and these are usually things that these lions would. There's a usual prey that these lions would try to eat, and this is what forced them to look for alternate food sources. And it just so happened human beings might have been there.
Yeah, they just happened to be there, and that was again a very easy food source.
As we know, because we mentioned at the beginning, these two Tsavo lions, man-eaters, are the most popular ones in pop culture. However, they are not by any means the only man-eaters. There are others. And actually, historic man-eaters in Asia, there's a lot of leopards involved here, some tigers. And then in Africa, the Tsavo eaters were not even the only ones. And as you mentioned before, Tom, there's also some other animals that might have eaten human beings. But I think some of them more known, or rather should be known, but for some reason are overshadowed by the Tsavo man eaters. Panar leopard. I think the reason why it's not as known is because this one was this particular leopard hunted in a secluded area of India and didn't really get as much attention from journalists, specifically British journalists, because it was for such a secluded area. But the Panar leopard was extremely deadly and also feared in India's Kumaon district. As a poacher shot him, Panar leopard turned to basically man-eating and killed over 400 people before it was killed in 1910. So it started by someone trying to shoot this leopard, and then he kind of got like PO'd, and he's like, "Oh yeah,
So instead of going after people, yeah,
yeah, 400 people killed, which is kind of nuts."
which is another tigress, right? The Chapawat
Yep.
tigress was in the early 1900s. Also supposedly killed more than 400 people, and apparently that's still happening like today in parts of like India. Is like tigers will still kill people.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just saw that
So,
too,
which we'll
actually.
talk that too. Like actually, so I forgot to mention it before, but like a fact about Savo is that people are still eating in Savo today, in that same area.
Nuts, right?
As recently as like 2020, there was a report of a woman that was killed, a cattle herder. So it still happens there, maybe not as frequently, but like the lions are still seeing people there and still going after them as food when they need
Some of
to.
the like latest statistics say that in the past 400 years, tigers have killed almost 1 million people, which is about an average of 2,500 people a year. In 1980s, about 60 woodcutters a year were falling prey to tigers in the Ganges Delta. And this is kind of interesting because this is the 80s, right? So 60 woodcutters each year killed by tigers. And what they try to figure out like methods on how they could prevent tiger attacks. And they figured out like there was like electrified scarecrows. They had scented like humans. So like they would try to go after these scarecrows and get electrocuted. That didn't work. And they wound up finding that the most simple way, this is 80s, 90s, that would deter tigers from attacking humans was actually a mask. For some reason, tigers are petrified of masks.
Yeah, they won't attack you if they think you're looking at them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they yeah, I know that. Yeah, go ahead, P. I'm sorry to
No, I'm
interrupt.
saying
Yeah,
no, no, yeah, no, that's perfect. So they
I'm hearing
basically
this. Yeah,
handed out these like rubber masks to woodcutters, and they would actually wear these masks on the back of their heads. So the tiger would, anytime a tiger was thinking of getting them, it would like try to get near him, and it would think that it's watching them, so they would like stop the attack. And
It's like a tiger's force field.
which is nuts because once they instituted this in 1990, any woodcutter that was wearing a mask was not attacked. And basically, just in the 18 months to mask wearing, 29 people were killed by attacks. It's like this thing actually worked. If you
Yeah,
want
because
to go out, if you're a woodcutter, if you're a biologist, if you're going anywhere where there might be an attack, wear a mask on the back of your head, and that will discourage it.
luckily there's no tigers in Jersey. I
Well,
guess there are, but not like wild tigers, right?
I
Hope
guess
not.
that's true. Do you know that there was a 2003 article BBC reported where a village in India actually beat a Bengal tiger to death,
Really?
claiming that yeah, no, they found it, like they baited it and then they killed it and like beat it to death because they said it had no choice because it kept on entering their village and harassing them and their livestock. This is in 2003.
Imagine that's just part of your life is that you have to worry about tigers coming into your village or your area and pick you off when you're sleeping. Like that's life. That's just like another day.
I just don't know how like you beat one. I mean
Well,
that's
there's enough of them, I guess.
But all right, so let's talk about a couple other ones before we get
Well,
going.
one a little bit different. Instead of we'll get away from the mammals for a second, and this is actually another documentary. Gustav, the crocodile, he's a Nile crocodile that was basically on the Ruzi River, first spotted in the 1980s, and they believe he killed more than 300 people. There actually was a PBS documentary on him in the mid 2000s, and they've actually tried to capture him many times. He's just too big. They think he's over 18 feet long, and he was
Okay.
last sighted in 2015. But that's the last confirmed sighting. But there's been sightings of him since then. The other people say no, we saw him, but they couldn't prove it. They tried like tagging him and stuff like he's just too big. But yeah, they say that he's basically has killed over 300 people. Imagine a crocodile bite you in half.
No, I don't. That's part of the things like I would get freaked out when I go to Florida because they're just kind of chilling everywhere. Did you say there was a bearded dragon or something?
Well, Komodo dragons will attack people. They actually will eat people, but mostly what they'll do is because on the islands they have to bury people on the Komodo Islands. They have to bury them in like concrete coffins because otherwise Komodo dragons will dig them up and eat them because they eat everything. And so because of that, they will attack people. They will hunt people on that island particularly, and they're aggressive too. They'll go after you. And there was one recently that was at in a zoo, and the zookeeper went in and just bit the guy right in the foot, bit right through his shoe, bit one of his
Oh
couple of
man,
his foes off. So they'll go after you. They have no problem. A couple bites to take you down. I saw the sloth bear of Mysore, which was in 1957. It was this bear. They believe he killed about a dozen people, injured twice that much in India. Only a small number actually eaten, and he was eventually killed. Well, a sloth bear was killed, right, by a British hunter named Kenneth Anderson. Although they don't really think nowadays that was the actual bear anymore, and they think it was probably a couple bears that were doing the murder. Not to get confused with Cocaine Bear, which I know has probably been in the movies a little bit now. Did you see that? Yeah,
yeah, my
sure.
son kind of low key snuck into the movies to see it because it's rated R, and I'm like, why you tell me he's sneaking into a rated R movie? He goes, I don't know, Dad. That's good. I guess we raised them well, you know.
It's a bear that ate cocaine, based on a true story.
Oh, it's nuts.
But I don't think it actually killed anybody. That's kind of like dramatization, Hollywood. The cocaine
Yeah.
killed the bear. So
There is a couple a couple other ones that I kind of want to mention before we finish this podcast. One is you guys should really tune into like the OG of our podcast. I think it's the second episode, the New Jersey shark attacks. I mean, they're man eaters,
the
right?
basis for Jaws, yeah.
That's right. And another one is, you might have to help me because I know this was made into a movie as well. This one is from like 1764 to 1787. It was in the French province of Gévaudan. It's known as the Beast of Gévaudan. I think it's Gevauden. It was apparently a wolf or something that was larger than a wolf, like a reddish brown, whatever, big wolf. And it ignored cattle and any other domesticated animals, but went and attacked people. And 210 people were attacked until he was finally killed in 1787. But they say it might have probably been a pack of wolves, but that would
A lot
attack
of times
these
that's what
people.
it is. I remember hearing that one too. And a lot of people at the time thought they were werewolves, even, right? Like it was like the
Yeah,
type
that
of
was,
werewolf.
that's
And
kind of
so
what the movie's premise
yeah,
kind of
like
makes
kind of
it.
based on like the werewolf. But yeah, they think it could have been like a pack of wolves, which they know that does happen. Pack of wolves, coyote, they will attack people if they,
Nuts.
in the right spot at the wrong time.
I think that pretty much covers it, right?
Yeah, the Tsavo Man-Eaters, like it's just one of those interesting stories. It's a tragedy. I hope we're not trying to like
Oh, this is
sound like
cool. Yeah. That's not the
sound like
point.
this is like, oh wow, 135 people were killed. All these man-eaters. It's probably one of the worst ways to possibly be killed is being preyed upon, like actually being eaten.
next time you go camping and there's like a wild bear in the woods. I mean, these lions pulled them right out of their tents. Just saying.
Well, there's been cases of that unfortunately happening too. I'm sure of people getting pulled out. I remember recently reading a story about in towns up like in Siberia, like a polar bears came in and they had to like fight them off and stuff like that. Like if food becomes scarce, humans are going on the menu. That's just how it's going to be.
See, I always think of like polar bears from like the Coca-Cola commercials. So it's like the sweet
Yeah,
bears. They're just
no, not
friendly.
quite. Just Google polar bear eating a seal. See what images you see there.
Oh man, you just killed it for me. No pun intended. All right. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to our podcast. We appreciate it as always. You could find us at www.historyteacherstalkingpodcast.com. Please don't be afraid to leave a review wherever you listen to this podcast, and make sure you click the like or subscribe button out there. It really does help us out. Have an amazing week, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Stay safe, everybody.
I hope everyone enjoyed our podcast, and if you would like to email us, you can do so at historyteacherspodcast@gmail.com.
A BetterHelp ad. Therapy isn't just for times of major challenge. It's a valuable tool for anyone wanting to improve their well-being. It can help you develop healthy coping skills, set boundaries, and support personal growth. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a fully licensed therapist right from your phone. No commuting, no waiting rooms. And you can switch therapists at any time. Sign up at BetterHelp.com and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com.